Hello. For this video, this is a request video. Somebody requested. They're wanting to know, how do you match up cards? How do you match up the layers on the cards? How do you match all the DSP? How do you match the card stock? How do you match everything together? So this is part of my answer. The first thing that I would suggest is there's pretty much 4 basic cards that almost everybody uses, or layers, either layers or cards. And that is black, the craft, the off-white, or white. Okay? If you can have those 4 basic colors, or any of those 4 basic colors in your stash, then you're definitely in a good place. Because these 4 colors will pretty much match with anything. Okay? So the second thing I'd like to mention about this is when you get if you buy paper pads, then they are you're pretty much guaranteed that all of those papers are going to match. All of these decorative papers came from the same kit, from the same paper pad. And look how they all do match. This one definitely matches because the red and the red matches. Okay? But look at this yellow and gray. Look how this matches, because there's yellow and gray in here. Okay? Now, pull this one out. Look at this green. This matches. And they're not even the same colors, although this bluish gray is very similar to this bluish gray here. Now move this one down. Look at these two together. They really match nicely together, don't they? So, let's pull this one over. Look at this one. Look at these 3 together. See how they match together? Because you've got the grays and the greens and the blues. And you've got all those colors over here. The same thing with this one. And this has little yellow specks in it too. So you can see how you can definitely pull these 2 together, because the yellow's being drawn out. And look at this one too. Isn't that interesting how they definitely do draw out different colors. So this one, when you put this one on top of the flowered one, you're pulling out all this pretty yellow, and that definitely matches. If you lay this one on top, that's pulling out the little dots of yellow, plus it's pulling out the greens and the blues. Okay, if you put this red on top of it, look at that. That definitely brings out that red flower. Okay, so again, the second thing I would suggest is to go ahead and buy a couple paper pads, because you can't go wrong with a paper pad. They have them all different sizes, and you're pretty much guaranteed they're all going to match. So if you get 1 paper pad, you start out with 1 paper pad, and then you have all white cards. If you have white card stock, look at how all of these will look on this. Okay? So all of these will match just fine. Let's do white and off-white. Here's an off-white and a white. And look at the difference. They both match just fine, because you do have this peachy off-white color, so that definitely matches, and this yellow definitely matches, but yet the white leaves really match too, don't they? So what about this one? The same exact thing. The yellow's being pulled out, and the white's definitely pulled out. So you could use either one of those on there. This, they both match for there's definitely white that pulls out, but this red is also a warm tone red. So that matches with this. And I'll explain warm tones in a little bit. So that definitely matches with the ivory colored, the off-white. Okay, now look at this one. That definitely does too, because there is white in there, and there's the light shade of yellow. So that definitely mixes in. This one, definitely, you can tell both of them extreme, because you definitely see the white in the little triangles, but you also see the yellow. The yellow's being drawn out by this color here. This one here, the white's definitely being drawn out, but yeah, it does match this ivory also, because of the tones. The tones are very similar. And the same thing here. The white background matches, but yet this blue and green, especially the green, really, that's got the same color tone to it, the same feel to it. Okay. So the next thing is, so the warm or the cool color tones. These are definitely cool tones. These are nice and warm. If you think of fall and winter time, fall and winter, these are definitely fall. These are definitely winter colors. And that's what I mean by fall is warm tones, and the black and white is definitely winter, because that's cold feeling. Okay? So, look at this. If you hold this up, I think, even though this does match, because of these four colors, you really can't go wrong with these, because they're so perfect for your base colors. But look at how that matches in the warm colors, and then look how it matches in the cool colors. It draws out the cool color right out of this paper. Isn't that interesting how it does that? You bring it over here, and those warm colors come right out. I find that fascinating. All right, so the next thing that I'd like to share is this paper here that I made. It's just copy paper, and I did a technique on it, and with olive green and this raspberry pink. So look at those two colors, and now look at that next to these warm tones. The warm tones definitely match that olive green, don't they? But yet the pink tone is a winter tone. That pink definitely is pulled out by that white and the black. So you can use any of these to layer this on. Okay, now look at the difference if you lay down a piece of this pink next to this. That really pulls the pink out, doesn't it? Okay, now look at this. What if you did this orange? I think that's kind of ugly together, but it doesn't match, that's why. But if you chose between that orange versus this pink, you're definitely going to choose the pink, because that definitely matches. The orange does not match. The orange matches any of these, but it does not match these. Okay? So let's look at this green here. That green matches too. So you can mix both of these card stocks with this decorative paper. Isn't that interesting? So now imagine this. You've got those two colors, and you could put it on a white card. It would match. You could put it on a black card, and it would match. You could put it on the brown. Doesn't match as much. It's not as vibrant, but it would work. And you could put it on the off-white, which again, it would work. Those aren't my favorites, but this one, definitely. The black, definitely. Okay? So now, what I would suggest, honestly, and this is where my mind goes when I'm trying to make things match, okay? I would pull out a piece of decorative paper first. If somebody gave me a stack of decorative paper and this was in there, I would go, I would look at it and go, wow, that's really pretty. To try to go through, and if this was my other decorative paper, it's not going to match any of this, because look at that together. That's hideous. None of these are going to match, okay? Because the colors are so different, and the feeling is so different. That one actually does match. You could actually get away with using this one, because the two olive greens. You would have to put another color in between them, but you could actually get away with that one. What about this one? That's kind of pushing it, I think. All right, so the only one, if these were all my papers, then this would be the only one that I would choose to put together with this, because it really does pull that olive out. They both have the olive green in there, and that's really pretty. So the next question was, how do you put it on paper? Okay. On paper, we have different sizes of layers. What I like to do is I like to go, all right, if I'm going to use my white layer, then I'll put that down, and then I'll put the next layer down. Let's see, I think I cut this one bigger, yes. So this is 5 1/4 or 5 1/2 in length by 4 1/4. The first layer on here is 4 inches. The card is 4 1/4. This is 4 inches. The card is 5 1/2 inches, so you cut this down an eighth or 1/4 of an inch. So you do this one 5 1/4. Okay, so you can definitely layer those two together. So one layer on top of a card. You could definitely do that. All right, if you wanted another layer on there, then you could add a black layer. Let's say we wanted black layer on there. That would go too. And this is what I would do when I first start out. And I still do it now, but when I first started out especially, because you don't have that many supplies. You don't have a whole ream of every single color. So what you want to do is try to get a basic card. So you can buy a box of cards and envelopes. You can get off-white, you can get black, you can get the white, you can get the craft color. You can get any of those 4 colors as a whole box. So then, say you could just get the white one. So we start out with the white, and then we can layer on. We can layer this on there. You can pull out decorative, cardstock, other pieces of scrap that you have, if you have some scrap pieces, or even paper. And that's something that I have a lot of, is when I buy a ream of paper or cardstock, then I usually buy a ream of regular paper also, because I like to use paper as layers instead of cardstock. So if I do have the paper for the layers, I'll definitely use that like this. My black is construction paper. I always buy whole packages of construction paper and just cut it down because it doesn't weigh anything, and it's a black layer. And it's a lot less expensive than buying cardstock. So you can definitely use that to layer. All right, so how to layer onto cards? I would say make sure that you have at least your white and then probably black. And I even use brown paper bag too. So for the craft color. A lot of times then I will use the brown paper bags to layer. So, but I would either do it this way and layer on simple, or if you want to venture out and match some cardstock, if you do have cardstock that matches, then go ahead and you can layer this on the pink and then on the black, or the pink and then on the white. Isn't that sharp looking? Or if you just had the green, that would match. See how that matches? Or on the black. All right, so the next question that this person asked was, how do you layer it all on the card to make it look nice? And for that, it's pretty much personal preference once you get started. But I would say when you're first starting out, keep it simple. Use a card base and use a layer paper. Keep it simple for yourself. That way you know that's going to match, okay? One full sheet, and just do it 1/4 of an inch down. So your card's going to be the 5 1/2 by 4 1/4. So do this layer 4 inches by 5 1/4. And if you cut them that way, then you'll get used to doing that, and your cards will always look nice like that. Okay? If you want to, the next step I would say is then to start cutting this down another layer. So cutting it down a little bit more and then putting another color behind it. So, but I would definitely stick to solid colors at first. So this way you have, look at how these three go together on this. Okay, so if you layer your card up like that, so step number 1 is just cut it like this, so that way your decorative paper fits on your card front. Step number 2 is, once you get used to and comfortable doing this, then go ahead and start putting a layer underneath there. Just one layer. And start getting used to doing that. Okay, after you're done with that, then you can branch out and you can say, all right, well, you know what? Maybe I want a strip that goes across here. Or maybe down at the bottom, because I know this matches. Or maybe I want the strip going up and down on this side, or maybe down the middle. Or maybe I want it on this side. Maybe I want it all the way against the edge. Play around with it like that, so that way you get used to it. After this, then I would say, Go on Pinterest and look and see, and in the Facebook groups, then there's so many card sketches. And I would just type in a search for simple, basic card sketches. There are so many of them. There are literally thousands of them. Choose one card sketch and draw it on a piece of paper. That way you know. So what I'm talking about is to do it like this. Let me grab a piece of plain paper. All right. Is that paper? Yeah, that's just paper. All right. So, and what I like to do is this. If it's easier for you, the easiest way to do it is go ahead and fold this paper, because this is 8.5 by 11. Go ahead and fold this in 4. Because if you fold it in 4s, that's going to be the exact size of a card. So there you go. There's a card right there. Okay? If you open this up, you have 4 cards. So now you can use this and you can draw sketches for yourself. So if you want to draw a sketch of this one, then it's just as easy as, here's your card. Here's your card. I guess I should move this white paper up from underneath here. Okay. So here's your card front. And then you just want this on here. 1 layer, simple. So your card is actually 5.5 inches going this way. Okay. And it's 4 1/4 of an inch going this way. Okay. So that's your base card. This layer is going to be, turn it over. So this is your card 1. If you just have a simple basic card with nothing on it and you want to lay an image on it. Okay. So anything can go on the front. You can stamp anything on the front. That's very basic. That's called direct to paper. Okay. Your next one is this one. So this layer is going to be, and you can even trace it out if you want to, so that way you know. There you go. So now this layer is it's 5, and the other one is 5.5. So we're going down 5 1/4 to 4, because the other one is 4 1/4 going across here. So you want this one 4. Okay, so that's what size this decorative paper is. So there's card 2 for you. Okay, so card 1 is just a plain, simple card. You can stamp something on the middle of it, down in the corner, along the edge. Okay, you can put a piece of ribbon on it and stamp an image. Very simple, very basic. The next step I would say is to start doing layers, just maybe 1 layer. Okay, so there's 2 cards for you. So there's card number 1, card number 2. Card number 3, how about 2 layers? So again, we can trace around this to make sure that we have that first layer. Okay, and then we can trace around the next one to do the next layer. I guess I should turn that over so you can actually see what I'm doing here, huh? But this is something that I would definitely suggest, and this is what I did in the very beginning when I first started out, because it helped me to remember to just stick to the basics and make it easy for myself, because there's so much going on out there that it's easy to feel overwhelmed, and you don't want to be overwhelmed. All right, so this has 2 layers on it, so you can see the 2 layers. You've got the card layer here, you've got 1 layer and another layer, okay? So 2 different layers. Another thing you can do also is you can use markers or colored pencils. And this is another easy thing to do. All right, so let's do, so here's just a card front. That's number 1. This one we want to layer. So this one, we could do, so you could color the layer in. Okay, so just copy this, so just trace over there. And just draw the layer on there, whatever color. That way you know that this is a layer on here, okay? You've got your card back here, and you've got this layer. You can also just make them. So you could just glue that right down on there. That way you know, okay, this is what this card looks like. This is what this card looks like. Just plain. This is what this card looks like. That definitely makes sense, doesn't it? The third one, this is what this card looks like. With this layer on it, and then this layer on it. And just glue them together and just use that for your card sketches. So there's 3 cards for you. Okay, then number 4 is the same thing. We're going to do the card, and then the first layer, the second layer, and then you can add another layer on. So maybe you want this layer, and you can do this on one side, the other, in the middle, top, bottom, it doesn't matter. Okay, so there's 4 simple cards that you can start out with. 4 basic cards. Once you're done with that, then you can branch off into doing other things. But this would be my very basic, minimal, very beginning suggestion, is to just try doing 1 layer, 2 layers, maybe 3 layers. Play around with the layers. Try adding 1 extra piece of cardstock color on there just to give it a different color. If all you have is white cards, then you could lay this on a white card, and if you have some black construction paper, cut a piece of this out. You know, cover up maybe half of it. Half of it up here. Okay? So play around with the second color like that, or lay this on here. If you have just pink, you could do it this way and just lay that on. After you do this, just the regular layering, then you can start saying, okay, now I've learned how to do these 4 basic cards. They're very easy. I've got them under my belt, so now I want to branch out. Again, look on Pinterest, because there's all different types of sketches. And they show you how to make all kinds of different things. All right, so there you go. There are my basic instructions for layering, starting out your cards. So just a card front, just a blank old card, stamp something on it. I'm looking for an image that's stamped. Here's one. So just stamp an image right on there and then color it in. Okay, there's nothing wrong with simple. I've been doing this now for, oh gosh, about 26 years now, 27 years. I'm in my 27th year. And I still come right back to simple basics. Take a card, stamp something on it. Okay. All right, so that's what I've got for you for today. If you like this type of instructional video, then please give me a thumbs up. And until we meet again, happy crafting. Bye-bye.